Hello and welcome to Unit 4, Week 4 of the online result-based monitoring and evaluation course delivered by Cloneshouse, Nigeria. Once again, my name is Oludotun Babayemi. I'm an evaluator with over 12 years experience building monitoring and evaluation systems for governments in sub-Saharan Africa, and also, evaluating programs in several thematic areas in sub-Saharan Africa as well. Um, it's been exciting week. This is the fourth week of facilitating this course. Yes, and I hope the past units and lessons has been useful. For week 4, we started with introducing ourselves to evaluation. We looked at the purpose of an evaluation, the types of evaluation that can be carried out, which some people call task of evaluation, and also and then we landed on the criteria for an evaluation. And afterwards, we moved to designing evaluation, which is evaluation designs, you can also call evaluation methodology, which is focused on three key points. So one is the unit you'll be collecting the data from. So is it at the individual level? Is it at the community level? So think about either pupils or school level or regional level in an education program. And secondly is also secondly in the methodology is to consider when you're supposed to collect the data. Will you be collecting data at the beginning of the program or at the end of the program, or even yearly within the program, depending on the type of evaluation you're carrying out? And the third key point on evaluation design, or third component, is the condition you will be collecting the data from. Are you going to be using a control group, or you just focus on the treatment group, or you're going to be using both in your design? So, these are all what the evaluation design entails. And we had the third unit, which looked at the evaluation process itself on how to conduct evaluation. So, from the planning stage to the implementation stage and the utilization stage where the evaluation is being used. And talking about evaluation, this brings us to unit 4 of this course. The essence of conducting an evaluation is for change to happen, right? It's for decision makers to make change, to make evidence-based decisions, and the evidence comes from your own report. So we will be focusing on the evaluation report in for a few minutes, and we expect that yes, you will be able to explain to others the components of an evaluation report and also identify what's important to add in an evaluation report, and also the importance of the content of the evaluation report itself. Understanding it so that you can be able to convince decision makers on what to do, and also establish other mechanisms aside the evaluation report, as it were. So, in this unit, I will be discussing what an evaluation report really is. What's the component of an evaluation report, and also writing a recommendation letter, a recommendation. So why recommendation? Why are we focusing on recommendation? It's one of the two important aspects of an evaluation report. The other important aspect is the executive summary, and we're going to come to this in some minutes. We will discuss, how to create a communication plan, or what some people call dissemination matrix for your evaluation. And we will conclude by looking at, common reporting errors that we make, especially in the context of evaluation report. So, what are the key contents of an evaluation report? I think before going into this, it's also important to state that yes, if you've won a bid, to conduct an evaluation. Every commissioner, or most of the commissioners, have their reporting guidelines. So it might be important that you ask them for those guides. Yes, because it also guides you as the evaluator on what to put inside the report. Some might not have, some expect that you have, but I mean, what we're focusing on for the purpose of this unit or for this course is contents that are common to every bilateral agency, multilateral agency, or the government of any country. So that's what we have in it. So it includes the title page. Yes, I mean, you need a title page, which is a start page, just to, you also need to have the executive summary, which is a summary of everything in the report. The purpose, you need to have the purpose of the evaluation, and also who are going to use the findings from the evaluation report. There's a program description in the context of the theory of change. So, what's the theory behind the program, and not necessarily a whole bunch of two-pager on the program itself. No. So this is from the perspective of the theory of change. Then you have the evaluation focus, which is the type of evaluation that is being carried out. Yes, you discuss the type of evaluation that is being carried out and how it's going to be carried out. Then you have the methodology. The methodology states how you're going to carry out the evaluation. So the three key points on evaluation design, which units, which is the data sources you're going to collect the data from. Is it at the individual level? Is it at the community level? Then you discuss when you're supposed to collect, when you collected the data, because now, I mean, so it's important, this is the evaluation has been done already. So when the data were collected, and also under which condition those data were collected. It's also an opportunity to talk about, yes, how you were able um, to mitigate bias, reduce bias to an extent, in terms of the methodology. So then you have the results, which are findings. So in in data analysis, which we did in week 3, yes, we were able to create some result from analysis. So this is where you put them, and from the results you have the conclusion. So conclusion is made from the results, and you have recommendation right from the conclusion. So like I said, executive summary and recommendations are very key part of this evaluation report. So we're going to go through each one of these in a moment, and yes, so we'll start with the title page itself. So I mean, you do not necessarily need to get stuck on the title page. So in the classroom, we have a sample title page which you can actually look at. So what's in the title page? So you have the name of the organization implementing the evaluation, possibly. Then the type of the evaluation, so which is, yes, the focus of the evaluation. So you could say this is an activity based evaluation, so trying to evaluate the various activities of the program. So the process evaluation of the, so we have the name of the program itself written in here, which is the Transparency and Accountability Initiative Data for Accountability Program in Nigeria. So the name of the program is written, and the date in which so the date of the report, the reporting date. So these are key things in the evaluation report. Just to mention that, yes, I mean, I'll be switching and giving examples based on what we have in the class. So we've provided a whole bunch of samples for some of the contents that you have. Yes, so that's the title page. Then you have the executive summary. Yes, this is one key, very important part of your evaluation report. It's a summary of all what you have in your report. And I mean, there's this argument or conversation that, or when exactly do you write the executive summary? I always advise that the executive summary is written um, when you've finished the whole report. So it should be the last thing to be written, because it's actually a summary of everything you have in the report. So note that the report is meant for decision makers, and one thing is that decision makers, policy makers, they are quite busy. They're busy people, and they do not have time to be written a 25-page or 30-page report. That's the real thing about it, in their work function. So what we found out that the only place they would read is the executive summary, and you can ask yourself when last you actually read a 30-page reports. So most times you pick the executive summary because you already know it's a summary, and that's why it's called an executive summary. It is for the executives to look at. So you have so many busy executives who would not be able to read a whole bunch of your reports. So you need to put what exactly you're saying inside the executive summary. And what does it include? The program description in brief. What are the evaluation questions you're trying to answer? Then what's the design? Yes, you took a sample of 300 people and interviewed them by face to face, and yes, and we had a control program, blah blah blah. In brief. And what are the key findings? Yeah, from that, yeah, this XYZ were uh, what we found out, and based on that, we are recommending 1, 2, 3. So that's just what the executive summary is all about. Um, so, and I mean, it shouldn't be more than 2 to 3 pages, right? But I mean, it's not that we've not seen other executive summary that are much more than that. But it's important to keep it uh, quite short, sticky, on point, um, and all summarized. Like this is what exactly is in the report, and I mean, it's it's something you should think about. I mean, in the classroom we have sample executive summaries. Yes, so we have like two of them, um, which might necessarily follow the same pattern. So, and just to note, this are for this is for training purpose. So I mean, we should take note of that. So you can see the recommendation. So the three recommendations, which is a summary, you can see it there. And I mean, you you need to focus on that. You can see this assessment shows blah 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 findings. These are the findings, and you can see the assessment focused on one ministry, the Ministry of Budget and Planning. So that's the so this is the methodology, right? In brief, and these are the findings in brief, and um, this is like a focus of what it is, of what this is a readiness assessment of the Ministry of Health and the Federal Ministry of Budget and National Planning. So I mean, that's the framework for an executive summary. Nothing more. You can also think about this. So this is the state basic education program of the World Bank, and you can see, yes, this is the context, just a brief description of the program, and you have the focus of the evaluation itself, um, and yes, the findings. You could see the findings. You could see here is the methodology that was used. Yeah, and these are the findings, and these are the recommendations. Although this was coined in lessons, right? Which has the recommendation. So I mean, this is important. This is the most important part of the report you're trying to develop for evaluation, and you should actually follow it through thick and thin. It's the key part of what you want to submit to decision makers. I mean, it's just important because that's why they call it executive. So executives want to look at the executive summary um, as well. In fact, um, there's a research about the legislative arm in the U.S. And I mean maybe 30 years ago or so that said, oh, they only and one of so trying to look at how often legislators read or decision makers read in the U.S. and it was surprising that um, they only do 11 minutes per day reading reports. 11 minutes per day reading report. I'm talking about like 40 years ago or so. So that might be over 40 years ago. That might be a very long time. So maybe things have changed currently. But I mean, if you think about your decision makers and look at them, and I mean, the workload has increased much more than 50 years ago. So how much of that do they read currently? So, um, your executive summary is quite important, and you should take it as the most important part of your evaluation report. So, um, another part of the content is for you to talk about the the purpose of the evaluation and those that will use it. So, who are the decision makers that will use it? Who are other key stakeholders that will use this report? It's very important because one report might actually function for maybe three key stakeholders. So, for example, it could be that you write into the legislator, to donor agencies, and also maybe to civil society organizations or government departments that are implementing the project. So, um, so you need to um, discuss that and also discuss about. So you need to discuss. So the three key things that are in it. It's the purpose of the evaluation, the purpose in terms of is it for learning, is it for us to know if the program actually made its objective, is it to understand um, if the project actually fits in to the beneficiaries that it was made for, or is it for us to understand how our project has made an impact in the last 7 years? So those are the purpose of the evaluation. So, and you also discuss who are the targets, of the evaluation. So, so who are the beneficiaries of the program, which you are actually targeting for the evaluation, which you would actually make to be part of your um, data collection process. So that's important, and we already said this like the recommendations. Who will this be for? So it's important to put all this into perspective in your evaluation report because it helps the reader to know who this is for and who are the people involved and who are supposed to implement the recommendation. Then a brief description of the program itself. Like I said, this is in terms of the theory of change of the program. So, what was the thinking at the at the design stage of that particular program? It's important to put it inside it. Yes, which is in terms of if you remember the inputs that would be designed for the program, the activities that was designed, what was the input, what was said was supposed to be the inputs to the output, then to the outcome and impact stage. So, I mean, all this needs to be clear in that part. Then you need to discuss at one point um, the program is at the point of reporting. So, um, which in essence is trying to say the type of the evaluation you are carrying out. So, is it a process evaluation, which means that yeah, the program is still ongoing, and this means that yes, we're still trying to focus on evaluating the activities of the program at the moment, or if it's a formative evaluation, like the program has not started at all, or if it's an outcome evaluation, which means yes, the activities has ended. We're trying to look at the outcome. So you need to tell you need to include the stages um, of the program as well. Then um, a brief narrative of the program. A one pager would be nice for that. I think most evaluation report are around 20 to 25 pages, but I mean you could actually get a 70-page evaluation actually. So in here you discuss fully about the focus of the evaluation. So in trying to discuss how the theory of change matches with the evaluation question, this we have done in this we tried doing theory of change. I mean in week one, the evaluation questions, the criteria. Now that's what we're talking about. In most evaluation reports, you would actually see reports being matched with the criteria. So for example, if you look at this sample project evaluation, um, so it's tried as much as possible to, so you see, results in terms of relevance, in terms of, so I mean, this is an evaluation that was done before the change of the new criteria. So you want to think about project inputs. So discuss that. So I mean, you could so for each of that criteria matches the theory of change, what was supposed to change in terms of input output. So yeah, so that's and what I've done here is try to show how that matches, right? So on the theory of change, there would have been, you remember the theory of change might have been done maybe like 5 years ago. So, but in terms of the criteria now, you actually have impact as a criteria and think about the outcome, um, which relates to the effectiveness of the program in terms of criteria now, or what you call the evaluation question. Here you'll be talking about the extent at which the program actually met the outcome. So here you'll be talking about perhaps the extent at which the program um, made impact in a larger population. So those are evaluation questions, and you have your efficiency stock between your activities and the output. So, for example, the extent at which the beneficiaries got funding that was meant for them, right? Or the extent at which monies were spent on providing toolkits for beneficiaries. So, I mean, that's uh, that's in line with what happens between activities and output. Then you have relevancy and coherence. Relevancy in terms of the inputs. So relevancy, which in essence is like, oh, if the target audience actually needed the program that was designed, and coherence in terms of if this actually matches maybe the policy current policy of the government in that particular community or area where the program was being conducted. So I mean, this matches with the input. Then you have sustainability here, which will definitely yeah, I mean, it's so the sustainability is actually put in here because yeah, it measures if, for example, if inputs would be matched by beneficiaries, what in whatever definition you want to give the beneficiary now. So that's why it's in here. So I mean, this is how you match each evaluation question with the theory of change, and that's included in your report as well. When you talk about the focus of the evaluation. Um, another thing is the methodology, and I mean we've discussed this several times. This was what we did in Unit 2 of this week, which looks at, yes, you need to discuss the indicators. It's important you discuss the evaluation design and the rationale behind it. If you're using an ex post factor, what are the reasons why you're using the ex post factor? The time budget, the political terrain. So you need to give explanation of why you're using that methodology. It's very, very important to be able to state that. Results, which we also know as findings, is a very critical, important part as well. Um, Once someone reads the executive summary and he feels like he needs more information, then he needs to come to the result. Um, this is where you report your data analysis, right? And what we have done here is try to bring the data analysis we did, and you report data in this way. And so it's important to state that in the result stage, in the finding stage, your results should be like you're reporting against each indicators, or I will say reporting against each evaluation question. So an example, we gave a template. There's a sample, and just to note that some of the samples, yes, I mean they're real reports that we did, but we had to extract them for the purpose of training. Because also note that, and this we will discuss in week 5 when we're talking about M&E consulting. You have a contract with your commissioner, so there's a time in which you can use some of this report outside where they are posted it to. Um, so let's see where that is. Sample report finding. Yes, so something like this. So I mean, so this is a program that actually wanted to empower MSMEs and farmers in Afghanistan, and is meant to, one of the indicators is percentage increase in income or in annual income of MSMEs, and you can see how this was coined as the result. So the result is just to show if it had actually increased, and in what volume was that increment. um, it's quite direct. Yes, you can see the MSME is promoted by the program, of which 23% are headed by women, have increased their annual sales and income by 20% compared with their annual sales in the previous year. So then you talk about how you got to got the findings, and you can see this as a keyword in the findings. So I mean, this is clear enough for someone that wants to read it. Do not actually do this. And I mean, this is the format that was used for the other parts. So those ones, incomes from farms. So I mean, it's the same way. And like I said, bar charts are very important to use. So do not use charts that are bogus. Stick to your bar charts and line graphs if you're showing, if you're going to be showing difference in time. So, but so you could see how this is presented with less clear data that shows what the results are, right? But let us see something you should not actually do. Do not put your results in this way. We highly recommend that you do not show results like this. The key important parts, some key important parts of reports that you should report, and that's the report against the indicators, against the evaluation questions. So those are the most important parts that people need to see on your report, and it has to be uh, clearly shown and stated. So in that manner. So it's important for it to be, I mean, if you can have charts, yes, have charts. Yeah, one per evaluation question is okay, and that will just be it. So for result, then you have the conclusion. Conclusion, yes, I mean, is derived from your findings. Do not have conclusions outside of your findings. Yes, I mean, we've reviewed some evaluation whereby, yeah, I mean, as a commissioner, so consulting as for a commissioner, where we've seen now implementers were reporting back not concluding, having in their conclusion things that were not in the results. So, and I've made that as an example. If you look at the results we have here, so from here now, we are able to form a conclusion that more than half of the program beneficiaries now use chlorine to purify their water. So this is the chlorine distribution program. So, it reduces, it's like a summary of your results. A total summary of all your results. So you could have 3, 5 results, then summarize it into one to get a conclusion, and that's how, and that's how you get an insight. So this is an insight from all the analysis that was used to get these findings. Very, very critical and important. This states every of the data set, explains every of the data, some of the data sets that you have here, while in the conclusion stage, you have something concluding, an insight, a key insight from the results that are related to the evaluation question that we're trying to answer. And I can remember that the evaluation question was talking about the extent at which households were using chlorine to purify the water. So it's important to note this. So this focuses on the evaluation question, which is being processed from the findings. Then you have the recommendation. So this is again the key part, and I think yes. So there's a key assignment task for this unit is that you're supposed to write a recommendation on the electoral process in the 2019 election in Nigeria. So you, as an observer, should write a recommendation, and like I explained earlier on. So your recommendation also comes from your conclusion, right? You have seen the numbers of people that might not be using chlorine, or the category or the target group. So you want to recommend that what to do to that target group so that they can start using chlorine. So that's you using evidence to construct your recommendation for policymakers. So, or yes, they need to provide more chlorine kits since people were saying they need more of a woman or so. So you derive your recommendation actually from your conclusion, and your conclusion from your results. So that's important to note. And the different ways in which you coin your recommendation, it's also important to know how to write your recommendation in a way that is appealing. Yes, in a way that is appealing. So that's the word, appeal, which is part of the construct of a good communication. So it needs to appeal to the policymakers, and not necessarily like criticizing strictly, but something in form of appeal that, oh, this can be done in ABC. So we're going to look at some of the things that we should consider in recommendation, but it's important to look in the classroom. Yes, we actually have some recommendation from the executive summary, and I think that should actually do. And also, you might want to check this assessment, the readiness. Oops, saying we're offline. Are we offline or we are online? So I'm not sure if that. Let's refresh this page and see if it's going to come up. So it's important to note that yes, there's how you put in your recommendations in an appealing way. Yes, appeal is actually the word. In an appealing way to the decision maker. Let's see if this would come up now, or if our internet Yes, so if we're still waiting for internet to come up, yes, let's dive into this. So it's important that you begin with, yeah, strong verbs, strong action, so action word, um, cultivate, purchase, um, review, um, transact. So they have to be um, key strong verb words, and this is an assessment of two ministries in Nigeria, which earlier shared with us. I mean, um, well, you can see this is a 4-page report, right? This is what goes to decision makers, and not the other 40-page report that was done. So you could see the recommendations prioritize, for instance, develop shared information database, develop monitoring and evaluation fellowship, establish partnership with. So I mean, that's how you put uh, your recommendation. So there should be um, an action word. Um, Please do not use the conclusions again. Like I said earlier on, you're going to derive the uh, recommendation from the conclusion. So it's not necessary that you talk about the conclusion again. Um, so you focus on the action word, things that you want the policymakers to um, to do. That's very important. Yeah, you could actually summarize the evidence, which is the finding in summary. Um, and it's important to indicate we're supposed to act. So if you look at the same documents, so I can show us another one, which is, so this is how your task actually should look like, right? You're supposed to present a slide. Yeah, we said if you could do a slide for the recommendation. So you're supposed to, just to let you know, you're supposed to do it in this format. The internet, come on, and I can show us. Um, so I mean, this is a presentation um, on a fair trade evaluation in rural Chile. So you could also have your report in several formats. So reporting could come in several, and it's important to note this, and this is what we will discuss. And dissemination matrix. This is another way to, yes, I mean, share your report other than a 40-page report as well. So I wanted to show us recommendations. So what we mean in essence, anyways, while that is loading here, is indicating what. So you should be able to state what the recommendation is for if there are different actors. So what is the ministry supposed to do? What is the donor? What are the donors supposed to do? What is the civil society organization supposed to do? What are the implementers supposed to do? So, I mean, if you have several stakeholders involved in a program and you want to give recommendation to, or you want to write recommendations, it's important that you state this recommendation is for X organization and this is for Y organization. Yeah, so I can show this anyways. So it's something like this. So the small program officers, yes, we're saying you can see the verbal word, improve, blah blah blah, promote this, create this. To high level project officers. So you have this. So same way we did for donors, and so yeah. So this is for Fair Trade International, which yes were the commissioners of this. So raise investments, facilitate, examine. So for the regional networks that were that were into fair trade, improve capacity, experience. So it should be actionable, and each stakeholder should know what they are expected to do, right? So that's what that means. You could suggest different avenues for implementation. So one thing is to go ahead with the policy maker because yes, the policy maker is already thinking about how to implement. So, but if there are avenues or opportunities on where to leverage on, it's important you include that in your recommendation as well. Providing sufficient detail for follow through. Yeah, I mean that's also important as well. And in this manner, what I what I normally, what one will normally do is to think about you as an evaluator, also like where you can help and all that in following through implementing the recommendations is very important. Estimating the cost of implementation, yes, you could do that. And one way we also do this. You can also do this in your recommendation is to state that, oh, in the short term, this is what you expect um, the policymaker or the stakeholder to do. In the medium term, this is what they can actually achieve with what they have currently, and in the long term, they should be looking at this, because this is also um, one place one thing we miss out on our recommendations. Like um, what can the policymaker do currently at the moment with the resources they have? What can they do in the medium term, and what should they leave for the long term? It's very, very important. Yes, also in specifying, yeah, I mean, what's in it for the policymaker, if he or she actually implements or decide, or if the institution decides to go ahead and do that. It's important for them to understand the cost benefits, or the effectiveness of implementing or doing the implementation. Yeah, at this point, I mean, it's not I mean, delicate issues should be treated sensitively on how. So you should think about what's keeping the policymaker up at night, and not uh, put that in your recommendation like something that's going to go against that. So something that is, so like the word appealing, which I use at first, is quite important for your recommendation. Very, very important. So boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I wanted to because this is what we intended that you will present. So it could be a two slide and the title for your task on this unit. So recommendations for the electoral unit should be in this format in any ways, and just this title page and 2 pages, 2 slides for the recommendations, and I think that will be it. So we want to see how you're going to coin your recommendations to yeah, for the electoral process. Yes, I mean, we're not going to discuss who you are supposed to write recommendation to. So, but it's just for you to write a recommendation. Um, so let's go to the classwork. So yeah, I mean, if we can quickly get to the classwork, which is this. Yes, so you were appointed as an international observer of the 2019 general election. So submit a brief recommendation concerning the whole electoral process. So you could use a Google slide or yes as well. So so that's the task you need to embark on. So yeah, so these are all things you need to think about in your recommendation. And also, I mean, one thing that I normally do in recommendation is to also, yes, I mean, in a way, when you're specifying potential benefits, is to also think about what the policymaker has done before and what they should do. So, I mean, when you're coining your action words, it's not just to say, oh, um, create A, B, and C. It would be nice to state that, oh, we understand that you have done uh, A, B, C. However, you should create C, D, and E in order to achieve F, G, and H. And this would allow JKH to happen in a very so I mean that's the way to go about it. That's the way to think about putting. That's another way to think about putting in your recommendation. Yes, I mean these are quite. These are things you can. Yeah, I mean you can take out from and use to put in your various recommendation. I mean, those are the key things that are contents that are supposed to be in um, your evaluation report. Now, the dissemination, which is the communication plan. I mean, you need to have a communication plan. Think about those people that are supposed to take action. Yeah, that's the word. Take action from the report that you're writing. Uh, so, so this is a sample when you have program participants, program staff, senior managers, and donors. Different things appeal to them, anyways. So we're talking about a two-page summary for donors, two-page summary for senior managers, and this timing means when you're supposed to engage them with the reports. Don't forget that if you're doing a learning purposed evaluation, yes, it means perhaps every year you'll be engaging with all the participants, stakeholders, and sending reports to them. But I mean, it depends on the type of evaluation you're conducting. So this timing means when you're supposed to communicate this using this methodology to this set of stakeholders. You can think about a budget for each, how much that would take. Um, Tomorrow, during consulting, we will discuss budgeting for M&E consulting. So I said tomorrow, no. Um, so in week 5 rather. So and you have the priorities. So trying to check who is important among the stakeholders, so that yes, you can think about the cost also and use that to incur expenses. So you need this kind of dissemination matrix to understand when you're supposed to send report or what you're supposed to actually send and when you're supposed to send it and who you're supposed to um, send it to. It's very, very important to have that. Then also, like, so this audience is important to know them, and that's the reason why your communication method changes by knowing these people. Um, because you want to think about because meeting them is about change, right? So you need to understand um, who they are. And these are key points on on key points you need to look at in knowing who these people are, who the stakeholders are, who the decision makers are. In a list of stakeholders, you might not necessarily have all of them as decision makers. So, but you need to find out um, who they are. So, I mean, what are they like is very important. Like their demographics, their age, their background, their height, where they work, what they've been doing in the past. So their background is very, very important. So because you need to walk in their shoes, and yeah, and also understand what their life looks like every day. Yeah, it's very important to know this, especially for the key decision makers. It allows you to know how you meet with them, where you meet with them, and how you're going to be speaking to them, and the communication methods you will use. The second thing is you need to know why they are part of the program and why they will also want to listen to what you want to say in terms of your report, breakdown of your report. So that's important to note. Why did they come to hear you? So I mean, this is like a situation analysis of who is in the room. Um, then the third thing is what keeps them up at night. It's important. Um, to empathize with this set of people. Like I said, with policymakers there all the time. Yeah, it's great to understand their point of view and why they're doing what they're doing, and knowing um what keeps them turned up all the time. Um, Also in terms of solving their problem, yes, which means everyone in the room is there for something. Um, like what's in need for them. So you need to be able to find every way to solve these their problems. Also, action statements. What next to do? What do you want each and every one of them to do separately? Because this affects each and every one of them separately, and this needs to be clear enough. Also, to understand how best to reach them. Yeah, this is in terms of the information level that you need to think about. So some are good at posters, some are good at just a one-pager document, some are good at reading reports. For instance, if you have stakeholders that are full of that has academics, so it means you can do a report, right? Think about if you have if you have media, then you need to think about press releases to them. So I mean, you need to think about information needs of each one of the stakeholders. Very important. And also the last point is to know what is going to what is going to be preventing them from actually implementing your recommendations. So you can take it from that point and know that, oh, this is the point, this is what can not make them, and you can engage them from that point. So that's very important. So lastly, we would look at different report errors. I must have mentioned some of it in the course of, yes, I mean, showing us several templates. When your executive summary is too long, like a 7-page executive summary, you know, think about it. Your executive summary should not be more than 3 pages. Yes, it could be cut and leave it for the most important things. When there are too much jargons, yes, think about this as well. Reduce the jargon, the technical words in your report. Don't forget, your policymaker might not even be in the field that you are. So you need to think about, yeah, explain it in a layman word. Key findings are hard to find. Yes, so what are the key findings? You need to let them know, like these are the key, and that was what if you so in this document that was shown actually, he had its key findings separately. So these are the findings, so they can know. I mean, for each of the ministry, this is important. So also in your findings, it's important to also um, make bold the key findings in the sample that I showed us earlier on. Let me see. Yes, here you have the key findings for each indicator being stated out just by the side. So that's important to, so not just putting or aggregating data here and here, and you cannot actually find, so it's not coming up. We'll see to that. Um, Please do not report too much data. I've showed this to us an example earlier on. Um, so missing windows of opportunity are times in which you should have communicated those action words or next steps um, to the policymaker or decision maker. Sometimes you might think you need to wait till the report. No. If in the process of your report you get your findings already, it's important to, and you got the chance to meet with a decision maker or sit with a decision maker, it's important to state it. State your findings and state what they need to do, because that might be your only chance uh, to sit one on one with the policymaker. It's very, very important. Do not wait till the evaluation um, report before you do that. So this is not coming up. Let's try again and see. Okay, so I've showed that earlier on anyway. So I mean, cut on narratives, too much narrative. Um, we've talked about the key things that is supposed to be in your evaluation report. So there's no point giving narratives that are not focused on getting um, um, your findings to your conclusions to your recommendations. So I mean, there's a systemic flow in all of this. which starts from your evaluation questions, from the evaluation questions um, to the design, the evaluation design, from the evaluation design to the findings, from the findings to the conclusion, and from the conclusion to the recommendation, which states the report's design, right? There's this flow in the design of the report itself, which one must actually follow, which is quite and very important um, in all this. So yes, um, this is I would just hope that this is quite helpful, and this is the end of this unit. Starting from, yes, what is actually included in an evaluation report in terms of the contents. Talk about the executive summary, which starts first, and at times, the title page, executive summary. At times, what I do is to actually put key findings before executive summary. At times, I actually do that so that, yes, you can easily see what the key findings are. Then jump to the executive summary, which is a summary of everything within um, the report. Then you have the purpose of the evaluation, and who are supposed to use it. Then the program description, which is a short, brief description about the program in terms of the thinking about the theory of change. Uh, Also, you discuss the type of evaluation you're carrying out and the evaluation question. Um, Very important at that point. Then the evaluation design you discuss in terms of methodology. Then you move to your results, the conclusion, and the recommendations. That's very important. Then we discussed about a dissemination matrix you should construct for each stakeholder that is supposed to act based on your recommendations. So you can have different communication method for each one of them, and also have a timing in which you can review um, your evaluation reports and also prioritize them. It's important. And we said yes, which means you need to know your audience in several ways. And um, lastly, we talked about the errors in reports. Yes, get your executive summary as short as possible, 3 to 5 page. Make your recommendations appealing. It's very, very important. Your recommendations should be appealing, and they must be in the executive summary. Very conspicuous on your executive summary. It must be seen as a key part of your executive summary. Not to forget, if you're looking for some of the templates, they are all embedded within the classroom. You can, and also sample evaluation reports are also there as well, which you can make use of in the classroom. And to say that, yes, for your task, it would be nice for you to look at this presentation, conclusion, and recommendation. It's a presentation of the conclusion and recommendation from a fair trade program in Chile, which we did an evaluation on. So you can use that in putting together a slide for your task. So that's the task 3, which um, you're supposed to report on. You're supposed to submit a recommendation on the 2019 electoral process in Nigeria. So, which in essence means, yes, you can just have a title slide, then 2 slides for your recommendation, and that would actually do it. So, we hope those resources will be useful for you. One important book you should actually take a look at is a short primer on innovative evaluation reporting. I do highly recommend this, especially for young evaluators. It's very important. It tells you everything about reporting. So you can also know that reporting is not just your only your evaluation report. So you could disseminate your information in several ways, which is what we showed you on the match matrix. It means there's some stakeholders you can even do videos for, right? You can even do cartoon for, which is cartoon illustrations, and I mean a whole lot. So, I mean, you're becoming innovative about reporting findings from an evaluation. So, which is very important. So this from Hutchinson is a good book to look at, and you should take a look at communitysolutions.ca. It's a that's a website that I would recommend, highly recommend for you also to get insights into systemic evaluation reporting, and it has several resources, tools that can be used by an evaluation community. It's very uh, useful. Unfortunately, our internet will not show us that page. So, but I mean, yeah, so we have all those references in the classroom, so make use of them, and we hope that will be useful. If you've listened to this video or stumbled upon it on YouTube and you want to join the class, so I mean, you can register on using this link. Yeah, I mean, if you're doing a group booking, you can email training@cloneshouse.com, I mean, they call away, so you can also do a call as well. I hope this about 1 hour has been so useful to us, and I hope the resources in the classroom will be very useful as well. On that note, I would like to say yes, have a very good day, and yes, I mean, all the best in your online course.